To a lot of people, the DFW connector, it's the design build model project, and we're going to tell you why. And this is actually, it's so successful, it's actually helping TxDOT leverage more design build projects in the state. And we want to tell you some of the things that we did right, some of the successes we've had, but we also want to tell you some of our mistakes that we've made on both sides. And you're going to hear some good things today. You're not going to hear a whole lot of details about the project because the success and the real story behind the project is the people working on it. And that's what we're going to try to tell you about today. The DFW Connector is a $1 billion design, build, maintain project. It's being constructed at the north entrance of DFW International Airport. And the project is a major link between the Dallas and Fort Worth North Metro areas. And each day we have 200,000 vehicles that pass through our corridor, along with 8,000 flights that go directly over it. So that means we have about 500,000 inspectors looking over and down at us and everything we do every day. Our existing facility was over 30 years old, and the original design, it had insufficient merge distances and capacities to handle our current and our projected traffic loads. The need for drivers to weave under the traffic conditions often led to incidents and congestions throughout the area. Additionally, many of our freeway to freeway connections, they were actually directed through signalized intersections, that at-grade intersections, and it created some safety problems and further delays.
The new facility, when completed, will significantly improve traffic movements. It'll add direct connection bridges for freeway to freeway movements and will double the traffic capacity, and also add demand price tolling lanes. At completion, we'll have 38 bridges with over 2,000 girders that will have been placed. And we also have several interesting post-tension straddle bents that have to be constructed. We're going to have 6 large bridge class culverts and over 125,000 linear feet of drainage lines. We've got 68 retaining walls that comprise over 800,000 square feet of surface area. So you can see it's kind of a big job. There's lots of earthwork and lots of paving. You know, it is Texas after all. You know, it required some 350,000 man-hours of engineering design to do this work, and we peaked at about 200 engineers working on the project. Construction is going to take 3.6 million man-hours of effort. 3.6 million man-hours of construction effort. Talk about creating some jobs.
Today we agree the project's been a success and we believe it's going to finish strong. However, it hasn't been, like Sam said, without some challenges. But it's collectively how we handle these challenges that provide proof that the design-build process, true partnering, collaboration work.
The DFW connector will provide capacity to allow more free movement of goods and services and people through the community. It'll help foster economic development. We're adding frontage roads that will open up new parcels that are owned by the city and by the airport for more development. It's really a tremendous economic boom to the area to have this new facility. Delivering it design build, they get it in about 5 years of pain rather than it would have taken about 20 or 25 years under design bid build. So they would have been under construction, for 20 years.
So it took 6 months before the Texas Attorney General's office completed the legal sufficiency review and that Sam was allowed to enter into the comprehensive development agreement with Northgate. During this time, we could have sat by idle, waiting the final outcome of the review and wait for the contract to be signed. Instead, we chose to mobilize into the project offices, develop our project management plans, enhance our project schedule, begin our geotechnical boring investigation program, and to begin our design. Our teams participated in weekly task force meetings, and we continued to develop the schedule, the plans, and the design in this time.
It was August the 10th, 2009. That's when we held our project level partnering kickoff meeting. And Bill Spraggins and Mike Benson of FMI, they were our facilitators. And what really set the tone of the entire day of the event was a very passionate introduction by my boss at the time, Maribel Chavez, the TxDOT Fort Worth District Engineer, she made it very, very clear to everybody, especially the TxDOT team, that you're going to buy into this method of project delivery or you're not going to be on the project. There's not going to be a halfway point on all this. You're either in or you're out. And it was going to take a shift in the way TxDOT operated and the way we viewed things. And it wasn't really without challenges for sure, but we did embrace the change.
Now, co-location is a great idea. You've heard it in previous presentations, and you're going to hear it here. It's what's key to being successful on these projects. It can be challenging, however, for those folks who have never been on a design-build project before or ever co-located with a client, a designer, or a contractor. So as our office spaces were being built out, TxDOT monitored the progress and adherence to the contract requirements. They actually even began to move in prior to the space being completed. Task force meetings were going on. The flow of information and discussion between our groups was great. I mean, I don't think you could even describe it anything less than that. The co-location was really working as planned for the most part. The one thing, though, happened that really changed this, and that was when we put in one of the requirements, and that was this door. It was a door to separate the TxDOT group from the developer.
So our first contract deviation, it was drafted to remove this door requirement. I know everybody laughs about it, but just removing this door, it sounds so simple, but it was a symbol. It was a very, very strong symbol early on in the project that we are one team and we're tasked with delivering the project together. So after that, there were no more doors and certainly no more walls.
It was amazing because we moved into a space and TxDOT started moving in and we were working on task forces. And there was a lot of communication and collaboration and movement back and forth in the office. But then they filled in the hallway, put a wall in and put a door in as per the specification. And as soon as that went up, it was like, bam, the door went down and all of a sudden it was us and them. And it created a barrier and a boundary between us. And so when Sam had that change order to take down that door, it was like all of a sudden a breeze blew right through the office. It was like, we're open again, we're back to being a team. It just made a tremendous, it's just a tremendous signal that it sent that we were no longer separated, we were all in it together.
Well, with mobilization well underway and our design being issued for construction, it didn't take long for some construction issues to develop. And many of you guys have experienced this. At the time, this was my first design build project. And everybody was kind of transitioning from traditional bid build type projects. So it was kind of a struggle. And we did have to adjust, TxDOT did, to an oversight role rather than being truly in charge as we historically have been. And under the CDA program, the developer responsible for selecting and paying for a quality assurance firm, and this firm was responsible for performing all the testing and the inspection that normally would be done by TxDOT. And this was a little different for our TxDOT folks that are used to inspecting and being in charge and having that control, so they had to step back, and they have to actually step up rather than down. And it was a challenge for some of these guys that we also had like a third-party owner verification firm that made sure the quality assurance firm were doing their job. So these TxDOT inspectors, they're not really an inspector anymore, they're more of a manager. So their job is to make sure everybody else is doing their job, and they weren't really comfortable with that yet. I remember it took time for all this everybody to kind of learn their jobs, but there really wasn't a need for a TxDOT inspector to go out there and look at the job and test on a daily basis. They needed to get in the habit of inspecting the process rather than the product. That was the mental shift everybody had to go through. And at first I had them trade in their job diaries for digital cameras. I thought that would be a good way for them to go out and look at the job and get more of an overview of the project rather than this detailed amount of data that they normally would get and put in their job diaries. And it didn't quite work out the way I wanted. It seems like a logical approach to go out and look at the job and collect some photographs and bring back and show me and my staff. And Rob actually started calling these drive-by shootings, because just like this slide shows, these guys, they would go hunting every day. It's like their mission is they would get suited up and they would go out and go on the hunt looking for things that are wrong. And that wasn't quite working as far as the partnership. At least I didn't think so. And I had to make some changes. And they would come back and they would take pictures of things like Coke cans in the rebar before concrete placement. And they bring this back, and as it turned out, it was work in progress. Yeah, they took a photograph, but that was a snapshot in time. We didn't pour concrete with Coke cans and, down in the rebar, but according to the photograph, it looked kind of bad. And looking back, I'll tell you, it was hard on our inspection staff. It was difficult for those guys because they were truly used to being in charge. And now they didn't have that comfort zone. Maybe they resented that. Maybe they resented me, but it wasn't working. We had to adapt, and we had to try something new, because this just wasn't going to build partnerships. That wasn't where we were going. So I challenged these guys to see the good as well as the bad, and that was a tough sell. And I had to remove some of these guys and their cameras. And the ones that were left, they changed. They did make that mental shift, and they became not only tolerant of the production staff, but also very helpful and supportive.
I'll remember, Sam, we weren't perfect getting started either. One of the first bridge abutments that we placed on the project didn't go well. First, the design called for the concrete between the girder seats to be sloped. While it was acceptable per the requirements and desired by us, it wasn't common within this district of TxDOT. So in other words, we were designing and constructing a product the TxDOT team didn't want. To further add to the issue, there were some form joints along the back wall of the abutment that had separated during concrete placement, and some reinforcing couplers that had not been submitted and approved prior to use. While the abutment back wall would eventually be backfilled and never be seen, it just wasn't good quality work. Additionally, not fully following the quality process and having the reinforcing couplers approved prior to concrete placement created doubt on our team's embracement of the true quality process. And we held several discussions about the abutment and even had the TxDOT and Northgate team out there to look at it together. Collectively, we decided that the abutment should be redone. It was too early in the job to accept this quality work, and it would send the wrong message to the troops. So we took the abutment out quickly, reconstructed it, and since then we've had very little real work. Addressing this issue head on and resolving it together bonded the team together, and it set the tone for the high quality on the project and the use of the quality plan.
These couple of stories here that we told you today are just one of many that have come out of this project. We'd really like to focus on what it's all about, and it's the common denominator of the success here, and that's the people. Without the high caliber of folks that work on this project every day, we wouldn't have had to be able to form the partnerships and work as efficiently as we have. Everyone was committed to partnering at every level. As far as design quality, I mean, one thing that Northgate, as a value added, committed to becoming ISO 9000 certified, not just compliant, but become certified, and so they did that. And of course, my firm is that, and so we provided those provisions, doing the quality assurance of all the design, and we did audits, and actually TxDOT accompanied us on some of those audits to see that the QC checks were being done.
This job was such a challenge, and we had new folks that were involved with design build for the first time, from people on the owner side to some of the designers, and working with a great contractor team. We developed such a good team in the proposal phase, and then when we won the job, the leadership and the job just came together. Even though it had a lot of challenges, a lot of long hours, a lot of work, it was just very rewarding the way it came together and how we all pulled for the same goals.